Hi, this is Daniela Wolf with Bestie Life, the podcast, and this is your community to support you through the little and not so little events that make up your day-to-day life. From the I've got this moments to the I just can't moments. We are here to empower all women to find and develop the skills they need to find peace, balance, and the bliss in their busy. Through solo episodes as well as interviews with amazing women who share their journey and their story and how it works for you. I hope you find the inspirations to make you laugh, think, as well as maybe rethink what you thought you knew, and connect as we realize that we are all living similar ups and downs and don't have to do it alone. So excited for you to hear this episode, and thanks so much for joining me today. Bestie Life, the podcast. I am so excited for this episode today. I am coming to you live from Chagrin Falls, Ohio, outside of Cleveland. I'm with Megan Moran of the Mompreneur Co. She was on my podcast probably about a year or so ago. I'll link her episode in the show notes below, but she has created this amazing space. It's a podcast studio. It's a mastermind space. It's an Instagram influencer space. There are different themed rooms, walls, and I am just so excited to be with her again today, live in person. This is our first time meeting in real life, and just kind of looking at the pivot she's made in her business, the direction that she is taking this business in, and just all the amazing things that she is doing to help women podcasters, help women entrepreneurs, and just help them scale, grow their businesses, and connect with other women. So thank you so much, Megan, for having me here today.
Oh my gosh. First off, thank you, Daniela, for not only driving, but taking your time. And I'm just so honored to be back again and talking. It's just we've just had such a fun girls' day.
I know. I said when I saw her in the parking lot, I'm like, I just feel like I'm reconnecting with an old friend. And it truly, that's the beauty of the online space. Like you really do get to create these connections and relationships with people. And it definitely comes to the next level when we meet in real life. Mm-hmm. But definitely to have you kind of catch us up on what has been happening with you in the last year. Because I know I said, the last time we spoke, you had your podcast on the side, you were doing some Instagram lives, you were kind of coming out of the productivity space and, design style and that type of thing. So where are you now and what direction are you heading in?
Yeah. It's crazy to think that you were there kind of when it all started, when it all pivoted. So since the last time we talked, we dabbled more in the online space, and we were doing a lot of like coaching and leaning away from the time productivity and into a lot more visibility. Mm-hmm. Like the more that I was playing around with my podcast and falling in love with it, the more I wanted to share that with other women. And so we were dabbling in helping them launch their own podcasts. We love connecting, and I always say we because my husband Collin is a part of the business too. So just to give
he
context
is totally hands-on. Saw him here this morning. Yeah. He's fantastic.
He is awesome. Yeah. And so, so then I was doing a lot in the connection space and connecting not only with your community and with yourself with mindset work, but then also with each other and people in our community. And so really it all came to a head July of 22, so a year ago now, when we hosted our first retreat right here in the Falls. And like you said, it's like rocket fuel.
Yeah.
We hadn't really been together. 22 was like, okay, we're dipping our toes out, getting back in person. And so that was really the first time that my first experience back in person. My previous business, the styling business we've talked about before, was all local for 10 years. And then we went all online for 2 years. And so that was my first taste of, I miss this. Mm-hmm. I've loved the connections online. I've loved the podcasting space. I've loved all these things. And so at the end of 22, because now we're in 23,
I know
what year or day it is, that was when I just really had this deep feeling of I want a space of our own. Mm-hmm. And so Collin and I were talking, and it was the middle of the night, and I just couldn't stop thinking, as we do. And that's when I said, I really think we need a space of our own. And he said, I think that's great, but I think it should be specific. Mm-hmm. I was like, well, if it's going to be specific, it has to be a podcast studio. Right. We both stopped and looked at each other like, oh, that's something. And so that's kind of where this all started. It was, being online, making connections, realizing that we have a way to help women get started or continue on with a really cohesive message, finding those right connections to have on your podcast, connecting all of your ideas. Connection has always been at the heart of what we do. But then once we were in person, we're like, we need more of this. And so that was when the podcast studio came to be. Got the keys end of April.
Okay.
We spent the last all of May, all of June decorating the place.
Right. And you have videos of that on your Instagram, which definitely you're going to need to check out. So the link for that will be below also.
Yeah, it was so fun to get to share that process with everybody. And it was so easy too. And we were just talking about how focusing our marketing on things that feel good and are easy and what we're enjoying has been our path that we've been taking. And so that's really how we got to where we are now. The studio's open. We get to have amazing women like you in here recording not only their podcast, but other content, courses, having events here. Right. We're going to do an event together, which I can't wait. So all excited. About burnout.
And it's a great creative space too, because you just can relax. Sometimes you need to kind of take a step back from your normal space, your normal life. And this is a fantastic, I can't even describe it. There's different themed rooms, you know?
Yeah. All the different vignettes was a big thing for us, you know, Instagram and reels and video content in that short form in a beautiful space is kind of king right now, or queen, let's say.
Yeah.
And and so that was like a big thing that we were thinking too, is you can do what you can at home. Also, I have toddlers. And so when I was working from home, I kept recording and have to text our sitter and say, hey, can you have them keep it down? And the room tone in our room was, we had hardwood floors. The one room I was in didn't have a lot of furniture in there, so the sound was very echoey.
Right.
And so we were grateful to find a space that, as we were just talking about, Daniela, has like really thick doors so you can't hear each other. We've got brand new carpet on the ground, which, you know, I love myself a good hardwood floor, but recording wise, this is better. And
I even love the last time we met, we were on Zoom, which is how I do a lot of my recordings. And you can't have some of that natural back and forth like you can in person right now, because Zoom will cut you off and only let one person talk at a time. And sometimes, you know, the magic in the conversation happens when you both have that moment together.
100%.
Right?
And that's something else that I've also noticed a shift in the podcasting space, and the type of content I want to consume is more conversational, almost entertainment where you learn along the way. And so the big aha I've had in recording in person and opening up the studio has been that we're co-hosts.
Yeah.
And really treating it like if you were in a conversation, not a typical podcasting interview that we've seen before, it would be the back, like you're going to ask the question, I'll give you the answer, you'll ask the next question. Right here, I feel like it's natural where I can tell when, you've got something you want to say, so I'm going to leave space for that. And it creates a more natural conversation just because you're in person.
Right. And I think the energy and the direction of the conversation feels more natural when you have all of that, and it translates better to the audience. I hope you guys are hearing a difference with these amazing mics, the awesome technology that she is generously letting me record on today, because it's fantastic. And I think, you know, as women and as entrepreneurs and then as a podcaster, you know, we don't need to play small. We need to be able to show up as the professionals that we are. And this is such a great place to do that. And just to have your support, because I'm watching you as you're like taking these knobs and you're changing the balance of things, you know, and it's those details that can make such a difference.
Yeah. That's the professionalism was in my mind this morning. It's so funny that you said that. And like quality, those are two things that are really on my mind, because, you know, a lot of people say get started and do. Get started with whatever you can. It's so important. But the other thing to think about is there's the little things that people might not notice or say too much about, but they are the things that might take them away from the amazing message that you have to share. And so good quality audio, somebody might not be like, oh, wow, did you listen to that podcast? It sounded so good. But they may listen to a podcast and say, oh, I really loved what she had to say, but I couldn't even get through the background noise or the jibbly jarble.
There was a hum or something that you just can't get rid of.
And it can turn you off. And so that's a big thing, I think, in my opinion, both from a literal technical perspective, but also when we think about our marketing too, like a good reel has you stop, something that's pretty has you stop, you know, the right professional logo, where there's so much around your business and the way that you show up and the things that you do, where authenticity by all means is important. But at the same token, you know, you've got to have that balance too of showing up and not distracting them. I talked about that a lot in my styling days. Is your outfit distracting or helping you feel comfortable, confident, incredible. All these things that happen in the subconscious
Right.
that we don't even really fully process, but it's those little details that make the difference.
And I always like to say that's part of your self-care is the way you dress impacts your confidence. It impacts what you say to people nonverbally when you walk in the door. And it's those little details that even people don't realize because it's so subconscious, but it can make a difference as far as, oh, that sounds nice, or, oh my gosh, that's what I want to be a part of.
Yeah, it's like that energy that you feel. But I mean, with all of self-care, you think about how you show up so differently, and depending on what you need to do to fill up your cup. And I think it just it all spreads out to everything, right?
Yeah. And I'm sure with your business too, having this space, I know you've talked about being able to come down here and just batch create. It gives you the time and the space that you don't need necessarily more time. It gives you that quality time.
Yeah. I think about, since I've been able to batch and just be in a creative space, my mindset shifts when I leave my house. I leave my house and things that I want to do in the house and all of that stuff. And I come here and I can breathe. Space makes me feel good. It's the right energy for me. And then I can focus. And I think another important thing that the space has allowed is that batching, and that I'm not starting and stopping.
Right.
I'm getting in flow. I'm typically not just recording one episode or one thing. I'm getting multiple things done, which then also, brain and mental wise, I can go home and feel like I can fully focus on my family because I'm not thinking like, oh crap, I need to do, this other part of the reel, or, oh, I never posted that. Like I got in, I got it done, I got out, and I can be present in both of the things that I'm doing.
I love that you said that, because that's such a big thing when it comes up with other women business owners. They talk about that guilt of feeling like they're torn, they're taking away from their family, they're taking away from their kids when they're spending time on their business. But you just perfectly illustrated the fact that you get your business done in that, set space, that boundary you created, and then you're able to show up 100% when you're there is exactly what everyone's looking for.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure you hear this a lot too, that people say like, oh, balance is not possible. There's no perfect balance with being a mom and an entrepreneur or working mom or any of those things. But I don't know about you, I kind of disagree when you have the right boundaries and space in place, and the intentionality and the quality of the time you're spending. I saw a reel the other day about that quality time and how when you're with your kids, being on your phone, even though you're present, literally, mentally you're not. And trust me, I'm on my phone around my kids. I'm not saying I'm perfect. Don't take that the wrong way. But it's made me double back and think twice. Both like, how am I physically showing up in that space, and am I giving it my all or the best for that day? My all one day might not be my all the next day.
Well, and balance is not necessarily about 50-50 equal, because I do believe you can have work-life balance, or I know it's called work-life harmony, work-life flow. I look at balance as how you're able to adapt, pivot, show resilience, and have boundaries. And those 4 components is where you find that balance. Might you have one day that you're working 10 hours on your business, and then you have another day where maybe you're 10 hours with your kids, or, you find that flow that works for you and feels good for you and feels good for them. Like you teach the people around you what you need and how to respond to you. And that's where we find that balance, because it's about the things working together, not necessarily that you've got to split yourself in 100 million pieces.
I love that you talk about boundaries. And I also love that you've talked with me too about like the seasons too, because it's not just what's going to work now is going to work forever. We're just talking about now that our life is changing and different things are happening. And I love that you said that resilience and adaptability, because I think that's just the more and more I recognize in my mom and entrepreneur journey, the more that it is about enjoying the journey.
Yes.
Being prepared for all of the many pivots.
Yes. Resilience is based in grace. And I think we need to show ourselves more of that. We're so giving with everybody else. We give them grace. We're understanding, but we beat ourselves up, inside. And that's where that guilt will come from, because we think we should have done this, we should have done that. And that resilience is the grace of, I did the best I could. The Maya Angelou quote, you did what you knew, and when you knew better, you did better. And that's, I think, where we're at.
Yeah. The other thing that comes up when you say that, because this has been top of mind and I'm curious on like your take on this, receivership. I am not good at receiving help. We've talked about, I've had my boundaries for my self-care, but I still really struggle. And so I was with my girlfriends in Portland this past weekend, and we were talking about mindset and all that. And we talked through how I struggle with that. So my current, and maybe this helps other listeners too, my current challenge from them was every time somebody offers something, you have to receive it and just start to feel what it feels like to receive. And I've caught myself so many times, like the other day I was at the library with that big toy I was telling you about, this like car thing, and the woman offered to carry it for me and I could handle the kids. No. And I was like, oh, no, I need to work on that version of a boundary more with myself, I guess, with allowing in and having that grace to be like, it's okay. You don't have to do everything. You're not a burden, and putting other people out when they want to help. And my husband said last night, especially because I love to help. Yes. And so I need to work on flipping that. And so that's been a new version of self-care. It's been top of mind, and I think pairs with resilience as well.
It does. You know, accepting help, being able to rest, those things that we feel like we need to, you know, be busy to prove that we have value. We need to help to show, or not accept help, you know, to show that we're capable, that type of thing. But by being able to rest and do nothing, by being able to accept help graciously and not feel like, okay, then I got to do this for you, or that type of thing. It's a hard lesson. It took me a long time to learn those things. It's a practice, you know, being able to accept help without feeling guilt, without feeling obligation, or that I was burdening anybody else. If they offered, they were okay with it. And telling yourself that and believing it is part of the process.
Yeah, I think that was my recognition. I'm like all about my responsibility. I made a decision to do whatever, and I don't want that to then become a decision you didn't like, even if you asked to help. And so that's been fascinating in my journey with everything, with launching the studio. You know, everybody offers to help, and how often do I actually take it? But then how often, by the time my me time comes, or I get to a place of burnout, do I feel like I have the weight of the world on my shoulders?
Right.
But I was ignoring everybody around me. So that's just top of mind that I'm really working on in that field.
And I don't know some of this, if it comes from, I don't know what your mom was like, my mom, there's that martyr syndrome that I think we've seen, unfortunately, where, you know, you're a good person because you're doing everything. You know, that's the type of kind of model that maybe I had, and I don't know if that's where it comes from, where we've seen it, you know, and it's hard to see more of a collaboration. It's hard to see it as that's not necessarily just one person's job, that sharing the load is the benefit, is what makes it lighter. You're
unlocking something for me now, because as you're saying that, I'm like, well, you know, my mom is like, she's just a ball of fire. Like, and I've also, as I stepped into the mindset world and realized kind of the masculine, the feminine energy, my mom has all masculine, like go, go, go kind of energy. So she's learning how to step back, let go of control, receive more, all of the things. But I also grew up with my mom and dad raising me separately. So I only ever saw one person always doing all the things.
Right.
And so I think that's an interesting aha to think about too, like of the modeling. You're right. You know, I always say that on the flip side, as a mompreneur, that we're able to model this lifestyle for our kids. But I don't think I really flipped the script on myself until you said that right now.
Us, you know?
Yeah.
Mine was a very traditional. My dad worked outside of the home. My mom worked in the home. Dinner was on the table. Breakfast was on the table, you know, and I know that's not who I am. And it's definitely different than to try and combine those, because I'm a blend then of him, I'm working outside the home, and her, I'm working inside the home, and I'm doing it all. And that's, you know, where I hit my wall of burnout, that it was too much. I was, you know, a single mom at that point. And we can't be everything.
Right. Well, and then I don't know if this is for you too, but then I have the extra mental load on my head of this concept of, oh, I'm modeling, so I have to make sure, as I'm a perfectionist. And at first I used to say recovering, but then I was reading a book and I haven't finished it yet, all about perfectionism and how it's actually a superpower. So I'll let you guys know how it is when I finish it.
Do you know the name of the book?
I think it's it's like the Perfectionist Guide. It's like a cream front and like pink flowers almost on it. I'll send you the link so we can put it in the show notes. We'll put it in the show notes. Yeah, something about like losing control or using it as their superpower. It has perfectionist on it. You won't miss it.
No, and I think I always talk about, you know, embracing, I don't know if I'd like the term weakness, but embracing those areas of ourselves that maybe we feel like we need to let go of, not be as forward with. I think by stepping into them and embracing that area, you know, you're only as strong as your weakest link. My husband's a sailor. You know, I say you can only sail to your least comfortable passenger.
Yeah, it's so true. And yeah, I think perfectionist comes up so much, but thinking about the kids, that makes it such an extra mental load. And then I hit that burnout wall too, with that whole modeling of like, oh no, I'm not showing at my best. Now they're going to like take away something that I don't want them to take away. And I think it's interesting as moms how we have that extra.
Because we're modeling for them then. If they're not their best, then that's not enough either.
Right.
And I know none of us want that.
Terribly vicious circle. Yeah. And yeah, but I notice when I do reset myself, or I do these things to set the right boundaries for myself, it's like baking in less of that, trying to avoid that worry, that point where I'm just stressed about everything now.
Right. And like to circle it back, that's why you have this space, so that this is, you can take a step away and just be Megan here. You can just be your business here and not feel like you're wearing 8 other hats at the same time.
Yeah. Hearing the kid screaming in the background, I'm like, oh no, one of them needs me, or things like that. And I think the empowerment for them too. I mean, you know what that's like. Your kids are a little older, so you get to share your wisdom with me. But I think every time I leave, only for a little bit, which I think works good for all of us, obviously they need more independence too, and a different perspective. I would probably be bored with me too if it was with me 24/7. Yeah.
Well, and it's nice. I found, as I started to step out of my mom role and do more things, whether it was in my business or in my personal life for fun, my kids liked getting to know me as a person. They were always amazed. The first time I went golfing, they're like, "You golf? You knit? You do these things?" I'm like, yes, I was a person. I had a life, but I think if we hide that from them, and even if it's not intentional, but we give up our hobbies, we give up our fun, we give up our free time to be just their parent and just one-dimensional, that robs them of that opportunity to really get to know us. My kids, like you said, are older now. My son is 22, and I'm his call home just about every day because we like each other's company now. I'm not taking care of him. It's just to chat. It's just to catch up. And, that's the kind of relationship personally I wanted to have with my kids. My daughter is, leaving for college soon, and we're taking just a girls' trip, the two of us. And, knowing that the changes I made along the way, taking time to go to the gym, taking time for myself, investing in me is why we have this relationship, is why they are who they are now, to feel confident and capable and able to do their life as well, and so that is the other side of the season that I'm in, to see that benefit of, my daughter takes time to go to the gym. She takes her downtime to read and knows her boundaries, because that's how we rolled, know?
I love that reflection that you're having, because, I'm in the kind of planting the seeds phase, and you're in the reaping the reward and like the harvesting of the crops and all of that. And so I think that's just a beautiful sentiment, as I hear you say that, of this work that you do and that, I support as well, of it might not seem like it makes a difference now, but you're down the road and you can say, you having this me time, you having this self-care routine, doing all of these things really does make a difference. And like avoiding burnout really has helped your kids thrive. And then obviously you in there. There was a friend I was talking with recently, and she used this word, which was the parenting pause.
Ooh, I like that.
But it also made my skin crawl, because I was like, no, we don't need a pause. Like you're saying, we want our kids to see us. We don't want to stop doing all the things. And for me, I think kids have allowed me to realize, I think I've ever really had that childlike play. Was never really a painter, drawer. I mean, I played volleyball, but not till high school. Like, right. I was just telling you today, I've never really had a hobby, but now I'm into teas. And so it's actually been fun for me to watch them and be like, how can I be more childlike and kid-like, and how can I find those things that I'm excited to share with them that I like to do? And when I heard the parenting pause, I was like, oh no, we don't need that.
But I don't know if it's are you saying pause as in like take a step away from parenting?
Other way. She was using it as a reference of she stepped away from like work or things like that and like paused her life for parenting.
Okay. I was totally mishearing
on the
that.
opposite side of it. Sorry, I should have given a definition.
Because that's why I was like, oh my God, I love that, because it's so, being a parent, it's a lifelong job, because it changes so much in each phase and stage. you are the constant in your life, whether your job, whether your daughter, whether, you being you will always be the constant. So when you said to pause that one role to focus on you was where I like
the new spin on it though. You should flip that script of the parenting pause.
Yeah. And it's not a hard stop. And I think that's the thing where that guilt comes from, whether, we're taking time from our business, we're taking time for our kids, we're taking time for ourselves. Not all of them are hard stops. Each of those transitions is a pause. And to see it that way and the boundaries a little bit more fluid can give you the freedom to then appreciate it and enjoy it rather than feel like, oh my God, I'm missing something.
Right. Yeah, I felt that frantic before, just when we have tight timelines for things where I'm like, oh, and this is where my receivership of support has to come into play. But it's like, oh, I have to go here and I only have this amount of time for this. And so I do like your flip on this of like, can we actually pause and breathe and sink into whatever that next thing is, that boundary is. And then that shows a different cadence for our kids as well. That
and the pause can be anything from 10 to 15 minutes to, today we're taking a couple hours and you've been showing me around town and we grabbed lunch and, this was a pause in what your typical day was. But I think the benefits of it are definitely worth it.
Yeah. It was funny. I was, as I was leaving, I was saying to our 4-year-old Jack, like, all right, bye, listening ears, be a good helper. I'll be back in a little bit. And I was explaining when I'd be back. And of course he could care less. Yeah. He was like, Mom, I'm fine, leave me alone. But then I was thinking, I won't be back till later. And then I was like, oh my gosh, it's literally only a couple of hours. And I think it's funny as moms that we think things, we think like things take longer than they do. Or in my head, I'm like, oh, it'll be so much more than it normally is. And then you're like, I can take 4 or 5 hours for myself. Yeah. And like, I already just feel so much more rejuvenated just by having our connection and getting to have lunch next to the falls and pop into little places I just wouldn't normally do. And this is a good reflection on for me.
And when you come back, you're going to be able to share your day with your kids and all of that. It's funny. My daughter, she was babysitting and the one little boy was crying and everything. And I shared with her, I was like, oh, I used to feel so bad when I drop you off at daycare and they'd have to peel you off of me and you were screaming, and then I'd get to work and I check the camera to make sure you're okay. She said, I don't even remember that, And I was like, I was devastated by something that really didn't impact her in the same way that I carried it,
right?
For all these years.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, my husband and I have been talking about that of when, like, we think that Jack's probably had his first memory now that he'll like actively be able to recite later in life. But certainly Sophia, who's almost 3, she's going to have no memory of this stuff. But I do think that, like you said, but it had an effect on us. And so I'm constantly like trying to play that dance between how big of a deal do I need to make things, but recognizing in the grace for myself but it was, a big deal to me. And so I'm always thinking about those moments of, when do I need to let stuff go? And when is it like, okay, I want to change it because of what it means to me.
Right. Yeah. Right. No, and I've loved this conversation, Megan, because I think this is truly the blend of your business, you as a parent, you as a wife, as a mom, because I think we are all these roles. And that's why our conversation has flowed in all of these million different directions because we're not one-dimensional. We are all of these pieces together. And this is what we bring to the table, what we bring every day to our business when we show up. And so that's what you get when you come here as well, and I love all of that. So thank you so much, Megan, for having me here today. I'm going to have all your links in the show notes, the procrastination book or perfectionism book.
Yes.
As well as, if you're going to have a calendar of events when people can come here, they can batch their content, record their podcasts, or just even like retreat kind of events, right?
Yep, all of that. We actually have an events calendar on our website.
Awesome.
That is not just for us, though. It is for every mompreneur who's in our directory as well. So if you are a mompreneur and you want other people to know about events you're doing wherever you are, you can go there, see what we're up to, and you can post what you're up to too.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. So definitely check that out. Get on Megan's calendar. She is fantastic. And I'm so excited that we got to meet in person and can't wait to connect again soon.
Oh my gosh, me too, for that workshop. I can't wait. Everybody comes.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks so much again for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please let me know any questions or comments that you have. Also, if you can please leave an Apple 5-star review so that this episode can be shared with more women. There's 2 quotes that I love. Alone we may be strong, but together we are stronger, as well as when women support each other, incredible things happen. So let's be stronger and incredible together, as well as maybe just have some fun along the way. Thanks so much and talk to you soon. Bye.